Okay, I want to get back into impeachment, but since we have Steve from Austin, Can We Trust Google? Let me do a little dissertation on that for a few minutes. We'll go back to him and let him have the final say. I, during the break, went back in my memory to what I was talking about with Google earlier in the show. And the main point I was making about Google was that I personally know the key search terms, White House memo, and then that will take you to a bunch of mainstream news articles and sites that will report on it and show clips of hearings about it and cover it. Times of London, Associated Press, things like that. And see, they try with old people, the news, the corporate media is always trying to discredit the web, or mainly neocon talk show hosts. They'll always say, the internet, you can find anything you want on there about the Loch Ness Monster or purple and green aliens. You know, that's crazy. He says he got it on the internet. No. You can go to News Radio 590 KLBJ. You can go to the New York Times. You can go to the BBC. You can go anywhere you want, and then it's up to you on the internet to decide if you think that's important. Now, earlier, I gave multiple sources. I said, we're going to play audio of Vincent Bugliosi, the famous prosecutor that convicted a lot of high-profile people, including the Manson family, Charlie Manson. He's a multi-time New York Times best-selling author. I said he testified as one of the many experts about the fact that murder has been committed by the White House. And then he brought up how they wanted to stage the shoot down or try to get our aircraft shot down as a pretext to start a war. And I said, now, we reported on that years ago out of the White House memo. That's like saying Watergate. They'd be like saying, well, how do we trust that a Watergate existed? Well, you go check and see if the Watergate Hotel exists. Even in the 70s, there was this break-in. If that happened, if Alex Jones is telling you that there was a Watergate Hotel and Watergate happened, kind of like, where'd you get this thing that a Watergate happened? See, the mainstream media thinks you're so dumb that I have Fox and CNN on tape saying Ron Paul is insane. He believes in an imaginary trans-Texas corridor. Now, they know people in 49 other states don't know there's huge billboards up that say trans-Texas corridor, that it's putting toll roads on existing roads and on new roads, and that it's a Spanish company. The Austin Chronicle thinks you're so dumb. They wrote an article, I'll never forget, that their editor saying it's not Spanish-owned. And people called me and said, Alex, you lied. It's not Spanish-owned. See, okay, fine, I'm lying. Sintra isn't Spanish-owned. Yes, it is. You can go look up their own website. It is too Spanish-owned. But see, they know you're ignorant. So they play on that and say, how do you know there's a trans-Texas corridor? And people listening in 49 states who don't see them all over Texas, don't see the signs in the toll roads, they say, maybe Alex is lying. You see? Maybe Alex Jones is lying about this White House memo. Maybe there wasn't a planned provocation. Remember how I'd be called a liar, a conspiracy theorist about Gulf of Tonkin? We had the captain of one of the ships. We had others come back in the San Diego Herald Tribune at the time and say we weren't under attack, it was staged. And so that's where the rumor, and I say that with quotes around it, it wasn't a rumor, started. And then now, 3 years ago, it was declassified. NSA, CIA, and the Presidential Library here in Austin declassified all that, and then the tapes of LBJ staging it with McNamara. Done. Boom! Oh, the NSA declassified. In January of this year, Chicago Tribune reported Israel premeditatedly attacked the USS Liberty to try to sink it to blame it on Egypt. Oh, just as I told you when I had the Israeli pilot on, and when I had the former Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Admiral Moore on, and I had the other admirals on, and I had the head Judge Advocate General at the time, Captain Ward Boston, on, who was ordered to whitewash it. It was exactly as I said. And all those interviews are posted for you to go listen to them. Okay, the White House and Israel trying to sink our own ship to blame it on the Arabs to start a war. It's now declassified. It's now in the Chicago Tribune, Steve. What are you going to do? Vincent Bugliosi is a real person. He did go before the House Judiciary Committee Friday. He did say the things we're saying, and you think you can play the sheep out there. Well, some of them aren't sheep anymore. They're waking up, Steve. Okay, pal? Now, did I have Richard Steele, high-level technologist, former CIA, on to say that Google was covertly, the founding of it was aided by the CIA and the NSA because they want to have control of the architecture of the NSA keyword data that's 30 years old that was then farmed out to create Google? That's why Google's dominant. They get the best government stuff. The government wanted to have something they were inside of. They don't control it all, though they've moved in their campus into NASA. And so, yes, it is CIA run. We've listed those MIT scientists that co-chair the Google operation with the Central Intelligence Agency. Does that mean the whole CIA is bad? Does it mean that we don't have our own people in there? No. The point is that Google has been caught censoring my stories and many others, and they've gotten in a lot of trouble politically and had to stop. We've had them delist my films. Go look at the Google Top 100. It's my stuff. Number 1, number 2, number 5, number 10. Go look. How do we trust Google? You trust it because you go and you click on it, and it's my videos because I'm number 1. That's why. And they've been caught rigging that, and it's made mainstream news. My stories about internet rigging have been picked up and quoted extensively in the San Francisco Chronicle and Time Magazine because we're the real deal, boy. And you know what? You're not stopping us from fighting the New World Order. You're not stopping us from what we're doing, and you're not going to confuse people out there. So I've answered your question. You go ahead now, Steve, and you have the last pitiful word.
Well, I mean, you sound rather defensive there. My question to you
I'm going to put him back on hold. See how he plays mind games. He has no proof, no evidence, no documents. He can't counter any facts. It's all petty dime store lawyer tactics. See, a real lawyer would have precedent and facts. Dime store tactics oh, you sound really defensive. No, I'm defensive of you trying to ravage weak minds, and I'm telling those weak minds your tricks. Go ahead, Steve.
Is the Chicago Tribune a mainstream media source?
Yes. Oh, and you say the mainstream media lies. No, that's not what I say. I say they spin. I say they spin. No, it's a complex.
Alex,
nope.
You said they are bought and paid for by the New World Order.
Instead of trying to abscond and divert.
No, how do we trust them?
Was the Gulf of Tonkin, well, they report on something after they have to. Was the Gulf of Tonkin event staged to get us into Vietnam?
My question...
I'm asking you a question.
Well, you just totally took me down a rabbit trail.
No, you brought up Loch Ness Monster. You brought up a bunch of side issues.
If the Chicago Tribune's a mainstream media source and they are bought and paid for by the New World Order, why would I trust what they have to say?
Because they were reporting on a NSA declassification, and I didn't believe it when they said it. I, weeks before, had already interviewed people involved with the Liberty Crew when it came out who made a stink and demanded it be covered.
So as long as they report on things that you already buy into, then they're okay. But if they're reporting on something else,
no. You know what? You know what? I have explained this a million times to people on air. Okay, we're going to win. We're going to take America back. The media always wasn't this controlled. They had church hearings. It was the Congressman Frank Church hearings for listeners. You can go to the Library of Congress and read these, Congressional Record. In the 70s, and they found there were several thousand CIA and other intelligence operatives inside media. Out of millions of people in the media, there were several thousand. They were the editors of major papers. They were the producers at the major networks. And they were in key foreign desks of AP, Reuters, UPI, McClatchy, and others. And so they're called gatekeepers. I mean, if I went down to the Austin American Statesman here in town, a good-sized regional paper, and I mean, I'll guarantee you, at least in the past, you take their, quote, police beat writers. They were all former DPS intelligence. I mean, there was a guy interviewed me down there, one time about a story, and it was a story skewed against me, trying to make me look like a nut. And if you looked at who the guy was, he was former, DPS and involved in their PR. So it's not even hidden. It's an agenda, ladies and gentlemen. And why does the Statesman hire that guy? Because he has an inside to the state police and the feds. Okay, now if I had to bet, I would tell you that most major papers, you get to a Dallas Morning News size, and by the way, I've had family that's worked in major daily papers. You've got operatives in the building. It's come out. In congressional hearings that CNN. See, Fox is the cartoon thing for mindless idiots. CNN's the real intelligence branch because it's for foreign consumption, not Fox. Fox is cartoon stuff for the dumbed-down American people. CNN's slicker propaganda for the foreigners to watch. That's not really for a domestic audience. And there, yes, you've got intelligence. And so they try to gatekeep all this stuff out. And in the past, they were able to. Now they can't because of the Internet, okay? So nice try. Okay, we're going to come back. I got to go quicker through your calls. We're going to go to Heidi, Randy, Kevin, Bill, Scott. Then I'm going to play a bunch of these imaginary, fake hearings that happened Friday. They're not, but government operatives and disinfo people would like you to believe that there is nothing tangible so they can run over you.